Do you not feel like you're given enough?
Do you not feel loved?
Do you not feel like you're adding value to this world?
Well, stay tuned, because today on the Paragon Podcast, we're going to tell you how.
All right, so we talk a lot on this podcast about creating videos that add value, right? What does that really mean, though?
I think that really what it kind of comes down to is what people need to know, right? I mean, you know, if giving out free information is huge, right? Teaching somebody something, right? How to change a tire, how to change a light bulb. I mean, teaching, you know, how to tie a tie, right? That teaching somebody to do something is incredibly valuable, especially now in the day of information. People can't have enough information, right? And so I think that's one of them, is just creating that value to inform.
I look at it as if like no one cares who you are, right? They want trust, and trust doesn't come from introducing who you are and saying I'm a husband and I have 5 kids. And I run into clients that want to tell their like whole life story, and I'm sitting here like, no one's going to listen to that. Like, they want value. So if you can help them in any aspect, if they're confused about something or they need to learn how to do this, just teach them that. That's going to build more trust than just explaining who you are.
So is adding value always educational then?
I wouldn't say educational, but...
So what counts as that then if it's not always educational?
I think anything that holds maybe somebody's attention, right? Like, kind of getting to the bare minimum. I mean, entertainment can be value.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I mean, that's what social media is with TikTok. I mean, we've talked about that before. TikTok is everything that people want to post on social media is entertainment, right? Social media isn't social anymore, it's entertainment. And so I think that's another one. I mean, you know, if you're holding somebody's attention, I think it can be valuable to somebody.
Okay, so we have 2 categories so far, right? Educational, entertainment. Is there anything in between? Like, what, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to, like, what things can add value to someone.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like it all comes down to a form of information, if I'm being honest. Like, that's what I think it comes down to. Because, I mean, like, my wife sometimes can get pretty crazy with having a newborn. I'm sure that moms around the world are the same thing. And say Maeve is up crying when she usually doesn't, right? Allie thinks that there's a problem, and so what does she do? She goes to, that's actually her calling right now. She can hear me talking. You know, she goes to Google and she tries to figure out what's wrong, right? And there's a lot of moms on social media that are saying, hey, if this is happening, you know, don't worry. And they're reassuring somebody. Just reassurance is a huge one, right? Or, you know, again, kind of going on that kid thing, there's a lot of information out there. Sometimes not the best. Right. And so, but it's still holding people's attention. And I think that even that adds value when a mom, especially of like 2 or 3 that's kind of been through everything, looks at that and goes, I don't know if that's the best, you know? And so that's still adding, you know, some kind of value, and then they can tell people and they can make their own content or whatever. Right. But it's still a form of information. I think that's a lot of value. But
I think it's connection too. When you're emotionally connected with something in a video, that's going to drive trust. And that's going to drive value. It's because, like you said, like my wife would look at videos all the time or go online and watch YouTube videos about, like, if you're having issues with this, like, look for these things. And it's that, I don't know, at least for me, when I watch videos, like, if I feel connected with the person and I feel like, yeah, they've had issues that I'm going through right now, that I'm like, I can trust them.
Cool. I like that a lot. Kind of going to the other side of it, right? With educational content, is there a limit to just giving information and that not being valuable? You know, like, is just giving information always valuable, or can it not be adding value?
I think you can overbear someone. Like, I feel like sometimes when you create a video, you're creating, like, you just keep talking or you're providing way too much and people get confused. Mm-hmm. They want simplicity. They want answers right away. And so I don't know. I guess it's kind of a weird question, but I think it could overbear someone.
I get where you're coming from. I think that there's so many people out there that have different needs and stuff like that. So even if you're giving away the freaking whole kitchen on how to build it, right? There's going to be some people that go, I do not want to do this myself. I'm going to hire that guy. right? But then there's going to be that freaking one dude in Utah that is DIY'd everything, including build his own car, bought every part from Ford, right? Like he might want that, right? And so I think that having a mixture of both is a good idea, right? Over explaining, giving away just a ton of information. I don't know if you can go wrong. I really don't. I mean, there's probably some trade secrets that you probably should keep closer to the vest, right? But if you can find it on YouTube, and this is what we tell clients all the time, if you can find it on YouTube already, freaking people know.
Well, I think it's not even YouTube. It's anywhere, right?
Anywhere, sure, yeah.
If I can ask AI it and it's going to give me the answer, if I can find it on Google in the blog or something, if it's on YouTube, yeah, whatever. You should be the one also saying that. Yeah. But I guess what I'm hearing from you guys is it really comes down to your viewer. Is you need to think about your viewer. Mm-hmm. You need to think about them in the end and like what you pick an ideal avatar, right? And make a video for that ideal avatar. Mm-hmm. Don't just go out there and spout a bunch of information and, for everyone to digest. And if you want to make a more in-depth video, and you're going to go through really complex subjects, that's awesome, right? I love videos like that, right? I love learning stuff myself and doing stuff with videos. But you got to make it for that person specifically, right? Don't make that video and you're also trying to hit like the person that just is going to want to hire someone in the end and make sure they're good. And so in the end, creating a valuable video comes down to first picking your ideal avatar and making a video for that person. Something that they would want to search almost, right? What would your ideal avatar want to search on YouTube? That's almost where I'd start, right?
Mm-hmm. I think it goes back to like the last podcast we talked about, like the different buckets. Is like if you have different people that you do want to reach, like figure out what content you need to create for these people and then for these people and kind of go that route. Yeah, and
that's kind of where I wanted to go next, right? Is first you kind of pick that avatar, right? You've picked, hey, this is how we're going to add value. But if you're just going to make one video, you're not going to see much return on it, right? Mm-hmm. You need to start putting stuff into a bucket, create a series of that video, right? Create something that you can be filming consistently, right? How do you guys feel series videos impact an audience?
I don't know if this is where you're kind of going, but the first thing I think of is some people create like part 1, part 2, mm-hmm. part 3 videos. And I really love those because they like if you can connect with someone in that first video and it's like continue to watch for part 2. Like maybe it's like they're putting a whole kitchen together, right? And it takes a long time to rebuild a kitchen. And so maybe part 1 is talking about something about the kitchen and then it moves on to part 2. And so I think that provides value, but it also provides like people are staying on your social media, your YouTube, your Instagram, your TikTok to find out more information. And so I think series can go a long ways. And I mean, me personally, when I watch those videos that are like part 1, part 2, part 3, they keep me engaged and they keep me coming back.
Well, I mean, I don't know if anybody knows who Connor Price is. I think that's his name. He's a music artist. Mm-hmm. He started nothing. I mean, nobody knew this guy. His girlfriend, I think at the time, I don't know if they're married yet, but his girlfriend at the time was a marketer. She knew marketing and stuff like that. And she came up with this idea of him writing this short rap and then, or whatever, having somebody come in and then having a part 2 where he would collaborate with somebody and he'd spin a globe and then point, and then he'd have to collaborate with somebody in that part of the world.
That's
right?
Cool.
And then he'd reach out to those people. And so there was this huge story about how this piece of music, this piece of art came to be. And there was, sometimes 3, 4, 5 parts about him sharing the story. And he freaking blew up. I mean, blew up. Now he's making a ton of, mm-hmm. Content about music and still kind of even the same format. And so, I mean, it's a great idea. It's a great idea to tell part of a story and then come back later for a next part and then a next part and then a next part to tell people. I mean, another example, this is kind of crazy. It just kind of ended a bit. Did you ever see I think it was like 1365 project or something like that? A dude literally wrote 1,365 on a whiteboard. And the next day he erased the 5 and put a 4. And it was a countdown for ages.
Yeah.
And there was so much lore on what are we counting down to? Mr. Beast offered him $1 million if he would just say what was at the end. And he said no. I mean, it was just crazy. I don't even know what freaking happened. I think it was.
Did it end?
It ended, yeah, at the end of last year. And I still don't even know. I got to go back and look at it. But I mean, like, he got a ton of followers just from telling some story that was barely a story, but had this idea, right? And obviously, we're talking about businesses and stuff like that, so it's a little bit different. But you can still take these concepts and make them your own, with a little bit of finagling, right? But telling those stories is powerful. So
Yeah, the last kind of example I almost want to give of that, I feel like most people have seen The Martian.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have read the book, but the way the book was written was kind of like that too, where he was actually just posting it as a blog, and then he'd have like people in the scientific community give him ideas, and so he'd like have something, and he wouldn't know exactly where to go with it, and they'd say, well, this is actually how this would work in space, and so that's why like a lot of like the growing the potatoes on Mars and a lot of like all the like little aspects and like how to communicate with just pictures and stuff, that all came from people like putting in stuff. But it was a series it was just a blog series that he was writing that ended up being an amazing book, and a really good movie. And so that kind of blew him up, And so I think what's cool about a series, right, is you create an expectation for what people are going to get, basically, right? People know, hey, I come to this channel, I come to this Instagram, I come to whatever, to get this one thing. And you can have several different series on a channel, right? But they know if I every month, every week, whatever that consistently updating thing is, that they're going to get more of that content. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that I think it helps your audience know who you are. It helps YouTube. It helps all the algorithm know who you are, because you're being consistent with the way you're presenting stuff. You're being consistent with the type of information you're giving. And so it helps people find you, but it also helps you then create content, because okay, these are my bounds. These are the things that I need to fit inside of. I need to make a video that follows the past 10 videos I've made. I think that really helps you grow yourself and have content ideas.
It brings in that anticipation, right? Who, out of everyone watching this, how often do we watch movies anymore? It's probably series. We watch TV series, right? We binge watch TV series. Like, I've caught myself watching a show and I look at the time and it's 3 a.m. and I'm like, crap, I've watched 8 episodes.
Alone,
it's because each episode ends and you're like, crap, I gotta start the next one. Yeah. And so it even helps with the algorithm, is because Instagram, for example, they focus on watch time. And so if you're sitting there watching videos constantly, Instagram's going to be like, holy crap, so many people keep coming back because they want to watch part 2 and part 3. They're like, we're going to push this content. And so series nowadays, like even in Hollywood, is like that's what's big. And so why don't do it with your own social media?
Yeah. So what kind of series do you think video or businesses can make?
I think, the first kind of easy idea is contractors doing build-out videos, right? Mm-hmm. Showing, from nothing, from breaking ground, talking about, because I don't know these things. I don't know how, you bring in the excavator and, how deep something has to be and how, there's a lot of stuff. And again, kind of going back to giving information, right? How high does the foundation actually need to come? What's code? Right? And how do they know that stuff? And how do they, looking at this piece of paper, build this house, this blueprint, right? I mean, it's all stories. You can even start before breaking ground in the design process, right? Recording your screen, talking, about the ideas, the problems that potentially could come when 2 doors open up the same way and connect. Right, I have that in my freaking house with 2 cabinets, and it pisses me right off because I open up one and I open up the other, and then you can't shut the one because it locks it in with the handle, right? And it's like, but especially on expensive homes, $1 million homes, multi-million-dollar homes, those problems probably aren't there because they're paying so much money for just the best, and that's amazing content, right? Especially when it gets to the build, the design. And so that's one idea that, Yeah,
it's pretty cool. So anything that could be a process, right?
Sure.
You could create a series on. I think that's a cool idea. That can, it's a story, and so that's how you're adding value. You maybe not necessarily saying like each time, like, this is what you do, and it's not a how-to to necessarily do stuff, but showing that progress week to week and stuff. And you definitely, for something like that, I think you probably need to be doing it weekly, right? So that's kind of an idea. What, any other ideas for how businesses can create series?
My first thought that randomly came to me was like products, right? Like you can post a video that just shows a piece of the product, 5-second clip.
Yeah,
I think of like new camera gear that comes out for me. If someone for Sony or whatever were to post a little video that shows like something new that's coming with the new camera, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. What's next? What else did they add to the camera, right? And so day 2 or week 2 shows a new thing, and people get more excited and they learn more about the new product coming up, and then they're just like, wow, I need this product at the end, and they buy it. And so I think products could be a really good way, because it just creates that like curiosity, but also creates that just like the anticipation, like I said.
There's a guy here in Utah, actually. I think his name's Dave, I think. But I think his daughter goes in and she films everything. But he goes, she goes in while he's working on a Ford or whatever, and goes, "Hey, what car should somebody not buy? What's the worst car to work on? What car do you see the most, right?" And then he answers, and then she goes back the next week. What's the biggest problem on a Ford F-150? What does it come in for the most, right? Like the next one, and he just answered these questions, but it's a lot of information. But it's her just going and asking kind of the questions that people potentially want to know, but it's the same stuff, right? Or going around the auto shop and go, "Hey, what car would you never buy?" to everybody in there, right? A lot of Hyundais, a lot of sometimes it's a Ford Escort, and so everybody's got the kind of their own opinion, but it kind of gives people like, if somebody's looking at it, they go, "Oh, why should I not buy this car?" And so, but they give a lot of, again, kind of going back to information, but in a fun way that's
well, and what I'm hearing, right, is a lot of these ideas are going back to like what your ideal avatar would want to search,
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of what we talked about at the beginning. You think, okay, what my client that I work with, they come in, and you could even pick a client that you currently have, right? What do they watch on YouTube? What do they watch on Instagram? And what are they going to search? What are they going to click on their Discover page? What's going to interest them? And you start with that, and then you just keep making similar content to that is kind of what I'm hearing a lot of, right? Other ideas that I've kind of thought of, one that I like right now that I'm working on with a client who's a chiropractor. He's talking about all the different injuries that you can have when you're out skiing or snowboarding, just winter sports in general. And he's tying it a lot to the Winter Olympics coming to Utah and stuff. And so he's doing this whole series of like, okay, elbow injuries. These are the things that can be wrong with your elbow. These are the symptoms. This is what you can do at home to help it. And then he talks like, if you come into reflex, this is what you're going to see and stuff. And I think that's really cool content because, one, that's stuff people are going to look up, right? My elbow hurts. And then he comes up like, hey, this is what happens, right? And so that's creating content like that, I think, is really good, where whatever you do, talk a lot about that, pick that aspect of it and go through all those things. And you don't have to try to talk about it all in one video. Just go, little bit by little bit. Another thing that I kind of thought of was myth busting. And that almost kind of goes back to like the girl a little bit, saying what cars would you not want to buy or stuff. It's kind of that same idea, but you talk about whatever, if it's your product, if it's something in your industry, something like that people think, and then you defy that, or you say, no, this is actually real. This is how it actually works. I think that those are really cool series that pretty much any business could come up with ideas for. So anything else that you kind of want to add? Any other series ideas?
I think we've kind of come up with a bunch. I mean, any business I feel like could take one of the ideas that we just threw out and run with, I think, honestly.
Sure.
Do you guys feel that there's any good ways to come up with this type of content for someone that they could easily find where to start a series of videos?
ChatGPT. I mean,
it's
not a bad place. I mean, I said this in another podcast, is just see what other businesses are doing in your industry. See if they have any series, right? It can even come back to like frequently asked questions that customers ask. You can try to look at those and be like, okay, how can I create a series off of that? Again, I can't give specifics because each business is different, but those are I think those are some ways that you can at least start game planning on what type of series you could create.
And I think a lot of people will watch a video and go, well, I don't want to do the same thing that they did. And it's like, no, you do. Just do it. Especially like an auto mechanic, right? This auto mechanic in Florida is doing really great and making some great content. Oh, I don't want to copy that. Why? Your guys' audience is completely different. Like
no one's going to
nobody's
Florida
going to
Florida
Florida
fix their car.
You know, and so like kind of keep that in mind that, you know, copy stuff. Like you're not going to do it the exact same way. You're not, because you're a different person, right? Your information is different. The way that you give the information is totally different, right? But it's still the information. It's still good stuff. It's still high, you know, quality stuff. And some might be surprised on how many views that, you know, somebody could get. So
cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us on the Paragon Podcast. We got to talk a lot about mostly series and how they can affect your business and how it can help you come up with ideas to constantly be creating content. So if you like what you see, please subscribe, watch us again. Give us comments for what you want to know more about too. We love talking about anything video. We'll talk movies too if people actually want to see that and stuff.
I love talking in general.
And so, yeah. But just give us a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.